the clips on there receive tens of thousands of views on a regular basis. But, you know, this is a similar situation to Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks guy who had a show on MSNBC, popular, the ratings were high, but his show got canned because he was directly told that people in Washington didn't like what he was doing, seeing through the left-right paradigm, talking about real issues, going after the real crux, which is precisely what Andrew Napolitano's Freedom Watch has also tried to do. So Napolitano was one of the few mainstream hosts to actually give fair coverage to Ron Paul. He was one of the only mainstream hosts to routinely expose the crimes and misdemeanors of the Federal Reserve and the TSA. But, you know, he didn't talk about celebrity pablum like Fox and Friends or some ridiculous morning show like that. He didn't engage in phony partisan bickering, so he's off the air. And Lou Rockwell, who was just a guest on this show the other day, he's encouraging people to, he's actually leading a campaign for people to contact Fox to get Freedom Watch back on the air. So if you go to the InfoWars article, Fox Business News acts as Freedom Watch, you can get the contact numbers to write Fox News and demand that they get Andrew Napolitano's highly popular Freedom Watch back on the airwaves. GOP strategist Ron Paul will be on the Republican ticket. GOP strategist Jack Berkman told Fox Business host Judge Andrew Napolitano, whose show has just been cancelled, as we just discussed, that a brokered convention will force Mitt Romney to pick Ron Paul as his VP, earning Paul a place on the Republican ticket, stating that Ron Paul could still win the Republican nomination without finishing first in any of the primary caucuses. Berkman added, quote, "I'll make a bold prediction right here and right now following what we've been saying for a year. Ron Paul is going to be on the Republican ticket." Berkman said that the presence of 4 candidates for the whole race would ensure a brokered convention. Quote, "The likely leader will be Romney, but he won't have enough delegates to win," he added, forecasting that Romney would pick Paul as his VP because, quote, "Gingrich and Santorum have extremely high negatives. Nobody in their right mind would want them on the ticket." So we've had a very much mixed reaction to that story since it went up yesterday at Infowars.com. A lot of people don't like the idea of Ron Paul being secondary to Mitt Romney. They think he won't have much influence even as VP. Whereas on the other hand, people have argued that Ron Paul as vice president would represent a massive victory for the liberty movement. But still, the possibility exists that as he collects all these delegates, he could still defeat Mitt Romney. But if not, this GOP strategist, who has been accurate in the past, he predicted the demise of the campaigns of both Herman Cain and Rick Perry before they happened. He predicts Ron Paul will, at a minimum, be on the ticket, which means Romney will be forced to pick him as VP. So we'll continue to watch that one very carefully. Moving on to the quote of the day here, from our good friend David Rockefeller. Quote, "We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept the new world order." And of course, that goes right to the very heart of current situation with Iran, with, of course, the potential that a crisis could be engineered, a new Gulf of Tonkin type incident to get that war going. Now, I'd encourage people here at the end of the show to sign up for PrisonPlanet.tv. Of course, this is the platform that we broadcast on. A lot of this material goes on YouTube, but PrisonPlanet.tv subscribers get live access to the show as it's streamed. They get archives going back now years to 2004. They get daily archives of the Alex Jones Show, both video and audio, speeches, special events, special interviews, just a complete library of material. And it is what funds this network. If we had no subscribers, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. And at the moment, we've got a special, which is $44.95 for a year. That's the Give the Gift of Truth special at PrisonPlanet.tv. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to support us in the information war, I encourage you to become a subscriber with all the great benefits it entails at PrisonPlanet.tv. I've been your host, Paul Joseph Watson. This is InfoWars Nightly News for Friday. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Greetings, fellow Info Warriors. Alex Jones here, announcing the first of many trips that I'm going to take across this wonderful United States that we live in. And we get so busy here at INFOWARS.com, the nightly news, the daily radio show, the documentary films, and all the other things we're doing that I tend to never go out and give speeches anymore. And I've got a lot of ideas bubbling around in my head about the history of the New World Order, what makes them tick and how to defeat them. So I'm titling this key speech I'm going to give. It'll run around 2 hours long, Blueprint to Defeat the New World Order. And we're also going to have a surprise premiere of a short documentary film we've been working on at the event. First off, I'm going to be going to Dallas, Texas, Sunday, February 19th, 2012, to the historic Lakewood Theater. And the next Sunday, February 26th, I'm going to be in Orlando, Florida. You can find out more about the events and buy tickets at INFOWARS.com/events. Now, unfortunately, every event I've ever had, we've had to turn people away. So get your tickets early at INFOWARS.com/events. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world. The craziest of all is this explosive awakening. I can't wait to meet you and shake your hand. I'll see you in Dallas and I'll see you in Orlando. INFOWARS.com/events. Yeah, I'm signing these evil 1776 flags. Doesn't get any more out of control than that, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty un-American what we're doing here at INFOWARS.com. I mean, not only are we promoting liberty, but we're selling 1776 flags. Now that is Al-Qaeda. Welcome back to this Friday edition of INFOWARS Nightly News. I want to thank Paul Watson for doing the news portion of the transmission this evening. I'll also be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. with a syndicated radio broadcast. If you don't have a local AM or FM in your area, you can simply tune into the free audio streams and video streams at INFOWARS.com. Now, our guest today is Professor Dr. Francis Boyle. He's had a long bio, but he's represented the government of Bosnia-Herzegovina in stopping the UN from breaking up their country. He's helped write major global U.S. bioweapons treaties. And, of course, he also has several degrees from Harvard and was given the same training in the same area as Henry Kissinger. So he's worked in close with these people. He's aware of their program, and he is a guest that we always find very informative when he comes on the radio show with us. But here he is on the Nightly News. And I wanted to get him on about the NDAA, the SOPA Act, the 30,000 drones they're funding to go in the skies, saying they're going to watch farmers with them. I mean, it is like a bad nightmare. And he studied the path to authoritarianism. And so I want to get his take historically on where he sees us going and ways to hopefully reverse this. Because along with the authoritarianism, the thugs don't just want to dominate their domestic slaves. They always look at the greener grass. They want wars, because war is the health of the state. People shut up. They do what they're told. You can have no bid contracts, and you can be big war heroes. And so now the United States, England, Europe has just been swallowed by the same type of expansionistic stuff that we saw from people like Hitler. And a lot of people, bring up Hitler. Oh, it's like Hitler. No, this really is like Hitler. Or other expansionists, Julius Caesar. I'd say Stalin, but he mainly just killed his own people and did some expansionist stuff. But it's just incredible. So he joins us to talk about that. Then I want to get into his experience with the UN up close and personal. Because some people say the UN's going to save us, and the very same military-industrial complex created it. I don't see that as the case, but we'll get Professor Boyle's take on it. Doc, it is great to have you here with us tonight. So much is going on since I talked to you a month ago. Unfortunately, everything you've written in your books warning people is coming true in spades.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Alex. My best to your audience. Right, it looks as if we've seen the pattern here, as I said before, that after 9/11, the financial elite in America has decided to go for broke. They went to first Afghanistan, Iraq. Obama went after oil and gas in Libya. Now they are going after Syria, and it looks that will be a lead up to Iran, which could set off another world war. It's an extremely dangerous situation right now in Syria. The neoconservatives, the Straussians, have always had their eyes on Syria to knock it off. I served as legal advisor to the Syrian delegation to the Middle East peace negotiations in 1991. Now, I haven't worked for the Syrians since then, but they did ask me to draft their opening position in the peace negotiations, which would have been full peace for full withdrawal. Of course, they got nowhere with the Likud government under Shamir. But when Rabin was elected prime minister, very rapid progress was made to a comprehensive peace agreement between Israel and Syria, along the lines of the peace agreement Israel had with Egypt. So it was ready to go. And there were elections coming up in the spring of 1996, and Rabin concluded that he would present that peace treaty to the Israeli Knesset after the elections. The votes were there, but he would wait until after the elections because it was a major development. There'd be a lot of debate. And he began to run, this was late 1995, on a peace platform. He had concluded the Declaration of Principles with the Palestinians. He had a peace agreement with Jordan. He had a peace agreement in his pocket with Syria. And that then would have certainly led to a peace agreement with Lebanon. So everything could have been tied up. And then, as you know, he was murdered by his own religious fundamentalists and right-wingers over there. Netanyahu was elected prime minister, and there has been no forward progress at all since that point in time, except that the neoconservatives here in the United States have always wanted to knock off the Syrian government since then.
But they're putting Islamic, jihadi, Wahhabist types in charge now in their invasion there, the same folks they used in Libya. They're now admittedly conducting massacres and torturing the French ambassador. I mean, what's the end game after the chaos phase? I guess then rout out the Al-Qaeda they put in place? I mean, this is crazy.
Well, of course, we have to understand all these Al-Qaeda people go back to the CIA, including bin Laden himself. So there have been long ties with the CIA from these people going back to the original Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. So we use these fundamentalists whenever we think it is useful, as in Libya and now in Syria. And yes, the agenda in the case of Syria is simply to destabilize Syria and perhaps crack it up into its constituent units, as they did with Afghanistan, as they've done with Iraq, as they've done with Libya, and just break it up into small little pieces short of a nation state that really then cannot stand in the way of the objectives of the United States, Britain, France, Israel. Remember, France was a former colonial power here. It's ridiculous to think that they could care less about human rights in Syria. And the same way with Turkey. Before France, Turkey was a former colonial power. So they're all working together, and they're happy to use these Muslim fundamentalists. Indeed, today's Financial Times has a big story about how we are now shifting all the Muslim fundamentalists in Libya that overthrew a nationalist regime there under Gaddafi. We're now transferring them over to